Good morning and welcome to Think of the Circle. What we are going to try to do is decipher SPSS for beginners. We're going to do a little bit of basics based on a class that I gave in May. And what you have to remember is when we start running SPSS, you can stop the video, experiment on the things that I show, and hopefully together in a very short span of time we'll be able to start you off on SPSS. So let me share my screen with you. This is the best shot from the beautiful island of Leros, and we're going to start SPSS. If you click the icon, you can find it in your applications under IBM, statistical package for the social sciences. Now remember, there are plenty of other software out there, and a lot of the basic stuff you can do also on your Excel spreadsheets. Whilst we're waiting for SPSS to load, this can take a while sometimes. Just to remind very briefly that in my class, and I'm going to try and load these slides or the beginning of these slides on my Spirit of Philoxenia blog. So those of you who were in my class, always think about critical versus descriptive writing. And I recommend this video when you write your thesis. There's SPSS opening up now. Let's minimize this. Hello, SPSS. It got me slow. Okay. This video is all about defending the type of methods that you choose, or whether you're going to go quantitative and use a software like SPSS, or whether you're going to go qualitative. Very, very good idea of defending your methods in your thesis. This video here, this link will be, it's all about the research. What is the difference between a research problem and a research question? And this one, it could be quite helpful about the overall design of your project. Why is that important for SPSS? Because quite a lot of times we don't think about these things, and we don't know whether we should be using SPSS or whether we should be using NVivo, and both of them, it's using reverse order here. The software is dictated by the type of methods that you've chosen to use, qualitative or quantitative, and all of that connects back to your positionality, if you like, and what you're trying to achieve for your project. What is the aims and objectives and the title of the project? Here's some more selected help. I've given a few links to videos that I think are pretty useful. Now, remember, I'm using a Mac, and this is version 29, I believe, of SPSS. So yours might look slightly different depending on what operating system you have and what version of SPSS you use, but the basics are always the same. I did promise back in May that if there was enough interest, I would create a video. And here we are. So the very first question is, should I use SPSS? I talked a little bit about ontology in the class and your belief around the world. And if you are closer to the kind of people that believe that there's a multiverse, and reality might be socially constructed, you tend to go towards more qualitative methods. And it's not necessarily that positivists only use quantitative, but generally speaking, we keep things simple here. We can say that if you are positive, post-positive, you're more likely, if you believe that there is only one truth and measurable reality, you're most likely to come into this video and watch how to use SPSS. Some of you in the class were talking about mixed methods. I really avoid mixed methods for master's level. It can really show weakness in your defense of the methodology, and quite often you are stronger in one rather than the other, and you're creating weaknesses more than creating strengths. Don't have this illusion that, oh, the more methods I use, the better. No, actually what you're telling the reader, the more methods you use, the more confused you are. So be very, very specific. What do you want to achieve? What are your aims and objectives? And use the method that is best for that particular project. The question of do I need a great statistical understanding? I explained in the class that actually I was speaking to a statistician who thought that all of us in social sciences are crazy, because how can you measure with numbers something like a perception? And if you go on Amazon, you will find people talking about books. One guy will say, love the book, it was amazing, give it 4-star. The other lady will say, it was okay, and gave it a 5-star. So when you're measuring and you're using what we'll talk a little bit about Likert scales perhaps later, but if you're using a 5-point Likert scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree, somebody's strongly agree is translated by someone else as an agree, and somebody's strongly disagree might be in someone else's mind a disagree. So it's very, very difficult when we put those values because we're not measuring coins, we're not measuring weight. Well, we might, depending on your research. Do I need a deep understanding? Well, understanding comes with doing, in my view. So the more you do, the more you get to understand both the reasons behind the choice of analysis and the type of tests that you might do with something like SPSS or not. Okay, so let's look at SPSS. So what you have here is you've got data view and you've got variable view. You can see that this looks like a spreadsheet on Excel. Every single row here would be one of the participants that you have surveyed. So if you had 10 participants, all of these would be filled with values. We're going to come back to the data view in a moment. Right now, we're going to go into variable view. So the first thing that you should be doing is you should be adding ID for each one of the surveys that you have completed. So ID, what type is it? Is it going to be? If you click here, it will. You can type. You can choose different variable types. This is clearly going to be. Think of your surveys as pieces of paper, and you put 1 at the top of the first one, 2 on the second one, and so forth. This is going to be numeric because you will get a number. The kind of width, well, if you had over 1,000 surveys, you would need far more, but here we're not going to do more than 10, 20, so we're just going to give it a width of 3. We don't need decimals because all we're doing is the ID numbers, and here we can say, what is that ID? What does it mean? ID number of survey. Okay. And here, if you had, we'll see different questions, you can actually add different types of value. So for example, if you had a Likert scale, you can use values for each one of the disagrees or strongly disagrees. We're going to do that in a second. Here, if you had missing values, you can go into SPSS and dictate how do you want SPSS to deal with it. We're going to ignore that for the time being, and we're going to go and file save now. Before I'm going to save it as before we lose anything, because quite often with SPSS, I'm going to call it test SPSS. Might as well save it in my desktop. There we go. Save. Okay. Right. So what type of questions should we think next? Because we have to talk about, oh, sorry, forgot. Where is it? It's there we go. Measure. We need to tell the SPSS whether a scale is an ordinal, a nominal, or a scale. So for example, here all we have is a number, and you have to think in terms of scale is going to be measurements that can be measured on an independent scale with units. Okay, so you could argue that age is a scale variable. So we might as well do a age here. This is going to be not a scale because this is the ID number of the participant of the interviews or the surveys, if you like. I'm going to call it is not ordinal because ordinal is about can we rank things? For example, your education could be considered ordinal because you're studying for a master's. If you have studied undergraduate, and if you're studying for a PhD, which one is the highest? Okay, so PhD higher, in the middle you have master's, and underneath you have undergraduate degree. So that education will be an ordinal. Nominal or categorical data is qualitative category membership. For example, if I think about gender, gender is not a scale. I cannot measure it independently. Also, I cannot compare which one, or cannot say which one is stronger or bigger or whatever. So gender, males, females, and other genders would be considered a nominal type of scale. So here we're going to put nominal, and then we're going to go next, and we are going to ask a question. What will be our next question? We can say, let's think. We did say education, right? So here we can say education. We can say it's going to be numeric. I mean, you can leave that, and you can even leave the decimal, but I'm going to take them away here because what I'm going to say is the label is participants. Oops, can't type this one. Education. And okay, so here we could say, we can add values. We could say here with a plus, we can add a value. We could say 1 is undergraduate. Okay, then add another one. 2 is postgraduate taught. Masters, right? And then add another one. 3 would be PhD. PhD as an example, and say okay. Right, so now I've got, if I click those dots again, I've got 3 values here. Okay, and what did we say? We can compare in this case, right? So we could say this is ordinal because it can be ordered, can be ranked of that sequencing information. If we do gender, and then we put under value, under label, what is your gender? Always go and save, file save. Okay, it's going to be numeric. I'm going to have, I don't know, maybe up to, I'm not going to have too many because I'm going to make categories. Here, that could be lower as well, the weights so much. I don't need that. What is your gender? I can put values again. Click on plus. I'll put 1 is male. Male. Do another one. 2 is female. Another one. 3 is other. What I suggest is you go and look at the latest. You can look at latest surveys to see the different types. There's quite a lot written about what type of, when you ask the gender question, how you ask it, the type of values that you might have. So I'm just going to stick to male, female, other. And what I always like to do is prefer not to say or non-applicable. Okay. I do give, I mean, you can leave it without a value if they don't want to say, and let's say okay to that. Right, if I click it again, you will see that it has that. And what did we say that gender is going to be? You guessed it correct. It's going to be, the type of measure is going to be a nominal. Okay. What else can we ask? We can ask, I don't know, we did your level of education. We can say, okay, holidays. We're doing hospitality, tourism, and events. Say holidays. It's going to be a numeric. We can leave that there. Oh, we didn't do age. Sorry, let's do age. We'll do holidays in a minute. We can leave it numeric. Now with age, you could, if you want to ask the exact age, you can leave a few decimals. What I like to do is with age, because people don't like talking about their age, I like to use categories. So 1 to 18 could be 1, 18.1 to 20 could be another one. Again, have a look at different surveys and how they create groupings of age. Otherwise, if you're going to leave it there, and you can say label age of participant, what you can leave the values as none, and people can go and say, okay, I'm 18.5, I'm 18.5. But that, what will that do is you will have, let's say you have 1,000 participants, you will have so many different values. That's why I would prefer groupings. And if you did groupings, you could have 5 different categories of saying 18 to, 0 to 18, etc., all the way to, I don't know, 100. And you can have different, and you can look at how marketeers sort of segment the age. And that's quite useful in my view. So what do we say? Gender is nominal. Age would be what? Think about it. Age is scale data. Is it ordinal? You could say sequencing. So you could call it ordinal. Somebody in their 50s, they're older than somebody in their 20s. Or if you do it in groups, you could say that it's one is not better than the other. So therefore, it depends on the aims and objectives of the study.
Now, name cannot be numeric. It's going to be numeric variable. Have the measurement level, since this variable has a unit of measurement in years, and it's obviously numeric or quantitative, you're talking about quantity of time, then it's going to be scale. The last variable.
So what is age? Is it scale? Is it ordinal? Or is it nominal? What do you think? It measures what? Time. Okay. So age is actually a scale. All right. What else should we ask? We've done education, we've done gender, we've done age. When you design your survey, it's quite important that you start with some light questions. And let's now ask a question about taking holidays, and we'll call it holidays. And we can argue, we can say, how many holidays do you take? How many holidays you take a year? That could be the question, right? And we don't need decimals in this case, because we can say, can tell us once or one or twice. So I mean, holidays, 2.5 holidays a year. Whether you take a 3-day holiday or a 2-week holiday, it is a holiday, right? So we could leave that, and we could call it, that would be, let's leave that values, because they can put 1, 2, 3, and that would be a scale, right? Somebody taking 50 holidays a year, it's far more scalable. There's the number of holidays can be an independent scale with units. Okay, you could do I like holidays. I'm gonna leave it like that, and I say good. Sometimes forgot you cannot have space, you cannot have certain on the ID. You can have whatever you like on the value, on the label, but what we're gonna say this. We're gonna say I'm gonna call this like just for fun. But what we're going to say here is I like holidays, question mark, and then we can do values. Let's do a Likert scale. I'm going to say 1 is, we'll do a 3-point Likert scale, disagree, and look up Likert scales, because you have to decide whether it's going to be a 5-point or a 6-point. 2 would be neutral, neither agree nor disagree. And then 3 is going to be what? Agree. A 5-point would start with strongly disagree all the way to strongly agree. Okay. So who doesn't like holidays, right? But you'll be surprised by sometimes the data. And we're going to put here scale for that one. And now we're going to go into, I think we have enough questions. We can go into our data view and what you could do. You see here this symbol. If you click it, if I put that's my first participant, education. You see, I put 1, I've got an undergraduate. If I put 2, it will show postgrad, because I clicked that little symbol. It's quite useful, so you know what is. If I unclick it, it will show the number. Okay, let's click it again. Gender, I don't know, there's female there, there's one age, so age, we said we're going to leave it as the number, as this person is 18. Oops, that didn't work. Holidays, that was about, how many holidays do I take a year? 2. And that's my data. Now let's go to variable view. Again, remind us what we have. Let's go back to data. Each one is a participant, right? And this participant has postgraduate education. You can make that a bit bigger if you want, so you can read. This one has PhD, is a female, 45, takes 1 holiday a year, and disagrees about whether they like holidays or not, so they dislike holidays. Now, let's do some data analysis. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Analyze, and we can start with frequencies, which can be quite useful when you're trying to see, for example, here we go. We can look at the type of genders that we have, put that there, and we can do, if you click on statistics, you can do percentiles, and you can do mean and median. It will report anything that you like, and maybe I'll take that out, 1 percentiles. And we could even do that for, I don't know. I like holidays. Let's do holidays. I like holidays as well. Let's do frequencies. And we can look at charts, and we can do a pie chart. Okay, because you could take some of those, if you like those charts, you can take them into your thesis. And if I click OK, what do I get? There we go. Let's bring it on the other screen. Ooh. So I've got non-missing. The genders, I've got 3. The mean is 1.8 and the median is 2. I hope you understand what the difference between mean is and median is. Mean is the average of a data set, and median is the middle value when the data set is ordered. So here we only had 3 points, so the median is 2, but the mean, the average, is 1.8. Okay, so here we can see in this. Okay, so remember, if you have scale variables, the best is to do descriptive statistics. So let's get the menu up. You're going to do Analyze, then you're going to do descriptive, and instead of frequencies, you can do descriptives. And if you don't remember, you can always go back to your variable view and you can say, okay, what is a scale? Well, my age is scale, my holiday is scale, and we even do the laggard scale. So let's go back to overview. We can do all age, holidays, and whether I like holidays or not, right? Let's try that. So analyze, descriptives, and I'm going to use all these three. I can actually press shift and I can choose all of them and put them there. And I'm going to go into my options, and I had standard deviation, I've got minimum and maximum, make sure that those are ticked. And do I have standard deviation on? That's fine. Display order variable list is fine. Okay, so let's say continue here, and let's say okay, and see what SPSS is going to give us. Okay, so the age of participant ranges from 18 to 45. We got a mean of 29.25 is the average age, and the standard deviation is 10.6. And the standard deviation is 10.69, 10.7, let's say. So standard deviation in statistics is a measure of the variation of a random variable expected from the mean. So the deviation away from this mean. How many holidays you take a year? The minimum is 1, the maximum is 4. In our sample, people tend to take on average about 2.4, and most people agree was, let's have a look. And back to our variable, because I can't remember. Disagree was 1. Okay, so most people are more in the disagree, and neutral was 2. So more people disagree that they like holidays. More people dislike holidays in our case. Okay, so hopefully that's useful so far. What can we do next? We can do one more test, and let's think about different tests to explore associations or differences. Okay, that's where SPSS is going to be quite interesting. I suggest you do a little bit of reading about the statistics and what nature of data that you have. We have in statistical association between two variables. You can do, if your variable is a scale, you can do a Pearson correlation. If your scale is an ordinal, you can do a Spearman rank correlation. And if you've got a nominal or categorical, you can do a chi-square, for example. So Pearson correlation describes the strength and the direction of the relationship between those two variables. Okay, so remember, we're going to do scale. We're going to do we've got age and when and how many holidays they take. So let's try that. Let's see what that will look like. Close that. Do you want no, I don't want to save. So what we're going to do is we're going to click analyze, and then we're going to go on correlate, and then we're going to go bivariate. Okay, we have scale. Okay, we can do age of participant. Well, let's take these three again, put them in there, and we're just going to do, for scale, we're going to do Pearson's. Okay, so what's the difference between the two-tailed and the one-tailed tests? The main difference is between the one-tailed and the two-tailed is that the one-tailed will only have one critical region, and the two-tailed we have two critical regions. Okay, so we're going to leave it here as a 2, And we can just double check the options to see what else we might want there. We can add means and standard deviations and continue. And we're going to click OK. And here we got, you can look at different books in terms of what might be significant and what might not be significant. And here, how many we have between the age of participant and the age of participant is because it's the same question, we got one. That's the purest relationship you can have, right? But in terms of the age of participant and how many holidays you take a year, I mean, that's not significant. We need quite a higher number there. Is depending on who you read, they'll say anything over 0.5 or 0.6 suggests the significance of relationship. But what is important here, we can see we made up those figures, right? Minus 2.3. That shows a negative relationship. Okay. How many holidays, to whether you like holidays or not, you've got again a negative relationship. That's because we've put random data. What we would expect to see is that the people who take the more holidays, they really love holidays versus the ones who take less holidays. That could be a case, or it could be that the people who take more holidays have more money. So you could be asking income and do correlation between income and how many holidays they might be taking a year. Anyway, that's the very, very basics. It gets you started. Remember, you could have paused, and you can pause the video. You can replay the video and play with me as we enter data. And we try to do some descriptives and some correlations. The more you use this, the better you will become. Like everything else, it's just a tool. And like a tool, the more you play with a tool, the better you become. Look after yourselves. Have fun with SPSS.